Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Lucas Winning, and in this podcast, in the following podcast, not just in this one, in this format, I will be talking about various topics, mostly around spirituality, life in Peru, and about coffee, because I really like coffee and I work with coffee since about 2.5 years. I don't claim to be an expert in that field, but I'm learning, I'm improving, just like pretty much everyone who started out in that business, I guess. So, a little bit background here. I'm living since almost 5 years in Peru. Since about 2.5 years, I'm working with coffee. I have a shop where I'm selling specialty coffee, also chocolates and alpaca wool and some other things. I have a cafe too, and a little shop in the back of this building where I'm recording right now, which is called La Casa del Corregidor. It's an old building in the center of Puno, just ahead from the cathedral. This building is about 320 years old. By the way, if you're picking up a lot of background noise, I have to excuse for that, because this room is not really isolated and it never is really quiet around here. So yeah, just that you know. I don't have any other place right now where I can record, where I would have time on my own where I could do this. I have 2 sons and they want my attention all the time, so yeah, it would be a little bit difficult to do this at home. So that's why I'm doing this here. So yeah, basically the reason why I started this podcast is basically at some point I was kind of daydreaming about doing this. I don't know why exactly. Sometimes I wasn't actually sure if I was dreaming or if I was just daydreaming about it. But I thought I had to do this. It's some of you might understand this when you have some kind of inner calling that you have to do something. You don't know why. You just know that you have to do it. And that's basically why I'm doing this. I don't know if this podcast is helping you. Probably it's helping me more than you, but if you can take something from it, you're welcome. Actually, I was very preoccupied for a long time. I want to just say for a few years, probably longer than that, of actually spending too much time reading news, getting hung up on everything that's happening in the world, wasting so much time with all of this. And I was thinking when I get myself informed that it somehow would make a difference, but the reality is it doesn't really make a difference. I can read news all the time, watch more and more videos, and get myself informed about what is happening in Europe, what is happening in Ukraine or the US or elsewhere. But the reality is, if you're not living there, where these things happen, it doesn't really matter for you. For some people it might sound cruel, but I mean, we are so preoccupied with our own lives. I have 2 sons, so I have a family, a spouse, and so I have actually not really the time for this, but yet I was wasting so much time on reading all this news. Thought that it would be important or anything, but it really isn't important. All that really matters is what is around you, the things that bring you forward, you know. So if there's an advice I can give you here right and now, we all have our YouTube subscriptions, right? Some more, some less. But what you can do right now in order to get things a little bit sorted out, to not be so distracted, because we all are so distracted in this modern digital world, right? Some have problems with social media and this stuff. Personally, I was never really addicted to social media. It kind of annoyed me, actually. I had it, yes, but I never really used it actively. So, in regards to YouTube, where I guess is the platform where you're listening right now, what you can do is, in order to declutter it a little bit for yourself, is go to your subscription list. Look through your subscriptions and look for what actually gives you value and what is just a distraction to you. So, what do you actually need? I mean, for the guys out there, yes, I know, tech news and all that stuff. I also like to watch hardware unboxed, or Moore's Law is dead and all this stuff, and get myself informed about upcoming hardware. But the reality is, for my everyday life, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't add any benefit to me. I mean, it doesn't give me any value. If I need any new hardware to buy a new laptop, graphics card, CPU, etc., then I can inform myself a week ahead or so. No, I don't need to stay up to date with all this stuff all the time, because I'm not buying hardware every day, or I don't have to give out recommendations to my surrounding every day, all day, which graphics card to buy, which laptop to buy, or whatever. So go through your subscription list and check for everything that you don't really need, that doesn't add any real value to you, and unsubscribe. That is what I can recommend you right now. Another thing is, you should deactivate your notifications, because even if there's subscriptions that you want to keep, that you want to watch, listen to, you don't need to be notified about it the second it releases. I mean, you can watch it in the evening when you have time, or the next day. And what it really does is these notifications. You get these notifications basically the second it comes out, no? And it's distracting during the day when you have work to do, or when you're playing with your children, or when you're cooking, or I don't know what it is, what you're doing. It is a distraction. So unsubscribe from everything that doesn't give any value to you, and deactivate the notifications. So basically that you can watch or listen to the stuff that you want to listen or watch by the time when it's time to do that, no? Not in the middle of the day. Because I'm guilty of that myself. For the most time, I was getting distracted by all these stuff. And from time to time, I was basically going through my subscription list and started to unsubscribe to everything that I thought is actually not important, and deactivated the notifications, and I think it really helped me. Yeah. On top of that, if you don't have to be on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, delete the apps. I'm not saying that you have to delete your account necessarily, but delete the apps, or at least you should go through your settings and set the notifications accordingly, so that you're not being distracted all day by the stuff, no? And yeah, actually, I'm reading currently a book. I haven't finished it yet, but let me check up the name. Reoccupy Your Mind and Master Your Life. That's basically how you would roughly translate it from Spanish to English. Yes, I'm reading it in Spanish. My Spanish is nowhere near perfect, but I can mostly understand it. I get the point, so to say. And yeah, it's really interesting. In this book, the author, Marian Rojas Estape, is basically talking about dopamine addiction and how it affects our life, no? And to put this in perspective, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, basically, when you're scrolling through TikTok, it's basically digital cocaine. No, not chemical, but it's basically digital cocaine. It works in your brain in a somewhat similar fashion as cocaine works. If you consume cocaine, it hits your dopamine receptors, so your brain is releasing a lot of dopamine on that. And something similar, maybe to a less extreme extent, but something similar basically happens when you scroll through TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or you name it, no? The effect is basically the same, that your brain is basically getting used to that, to this dopamine rush, and it's deteriorating your frontal cortex. Basically, this constant dopamine rush is it's messing with your brain. It's taking away your ability to think clearly, right? Kind of like a drug addict. Like all these people are addicted to cocaine, fentanyl, and whatever. Basically, it's destroying your brain, and social media actually does the very same thing, but most people won't tell you that. I mean, Facebook, TikTok, they will not advertise that, right? That it's fucking up your brain, basically. That you should stay away from that, or keep the consumption at low levels. Basically, pretty much everything actually can do that, as far as I understood in this book. You can be addicted to drugs, you can be addicted to sex, you can be addicted to alcohol, you can be addicted to video games. It doesn't mean that you cannot drink any wine or enjoy a shot of whiskey, if you like, but you have to keep it in limits, right? So you cannot drink every day a shot of whiskey. If you keep it to once or twice a week, it's going to be fine, but if you catch yourself that you want to drink every day a shot of whiskey, then that's not so good. Same with people that basically want to do it with their partner or somebody else, I don't know, 3-4 times a day, then probably something is off, no? Yeah. And this is basically a problem that we have in the modern world, that we have too much of everything. It's actually a known fact that when you stand, for example, in a supermarket and you want to buy, let's say, yogurt, right? In many countries, when you go to the supermarket and you're looking actually for yogurt, you will be completely overburdened with a gigantic selection of different types of yogurt. Instead of, 5 or 6 options, you probably have 15, 20 or more different options. And what that actually does is it frustrates you. People cannot deal with too much options, so to speak. And it's actually the same thing with dating apps. They found out that not just men, but in particularly women who have, let's face it, the vast selection and opportunities on these dating apps now. Basically, there's an overload of men and there's not so many women on these dating apps. So they have plenty of options, so to speak, and that's getting this woman frustrated. That is scrolling through this dating app and getting all these options of I don't know, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 guys maybe, if you just go by the looks. And they usually just go for the looks, right? And they're getting frustrated because there are too many options and they cannot decide. Isn't it crazy? People getting frustrated by having too many options. Because our brain, I guess, was never designed for having too many options. But that's where we are today. We have too much of everything. Too much news. Too many games. Too many yogurt options in the supermarket. Yeah, just too much of everything. And it's getting us sick. It's getting us stressed out. Actually, I realized when I remember back in the day, when I had more time to play video games, and it's not like I didn't enjoy that. I enjoyed playing video games. I still sometimes play when I have the opportunity. Not nearly to the extent that I did in the past, but sometimes. And when I remember back how it was, let's say in the early 2000s, I remember that I was actually far less stressed. It didn't feel that I was getting too much of everything. I was playing for hours upon hours, sometimes I don't know, Elder Scrolls 3 and stuff like that. Games that you would play basically in the early 2000s, right? And I was happy. I was not feeling stressed out, even though I was basically consuming too much of something, you could say. I guess the difference back then compared to today is back then we didn't have smartphones that were overloading us with everything, news and just everything, where everybody could contact you at all times. I mean, back then you had only this more simplistic phones where you basically would pay, I remember, 20 cents just for sending an SMS. Therefore, people were not spamming each other with messages and SMS for obvious reasons, because it was just so expensive, right? So it was a lot calmer back in the day. I remember if you went at home and playing on a computer or chatting with each other on a computer, because of course that was for free. So nobody used the phones, or just to a limited extent, and was instead just basically chatting with each other on the computer, right? Yeah. Or you would basically chat with somebody or send an SMS and ask, hey, should we go out? Or you would even organize that when you met each other in the school, right? Basically would talk to your school friends and say, hey, let's meet at 6 p.m. at that or that location. And that friend usually would be at the given time at that location. And if you would meet your friend, you would actually look each other in the eye and talk with each other. It would be an active conversation. There wouldn't be any distractions. And you would basically live in the moment, But today, everybody is distracted all the time by their smartphones. Social media, WhatsApp, YouTube, I don't know. Name something. Basically, the smartphone is always around. People watching their telenovelas at all times, or Netflix. Their series is text with, I don't know, 50 people. It's just not like it was back in the day, And I don't know where all of this is going to lead. I don't know if all of this is going to crash at some point. And if we can go back to the old days, or if it's just going to get increasingly worse. I'm trying to keep my son away from at least phones whenever possible. No, he also likes to play on the laptop occasionally. I try to limit that too. Sometimes it's not possible because I have customers there. I try to play with him, but I have customers there and I need to distract them, or I have to go and do something. And I don't know. It's just too much of everything. I see my son surrounded by all of this technology that wasn't around in the past. We were not confronted with this. When I was in his age, there wasn't even phones around. I mean, in the mid-90s, there were no phones, no smartphones at least, no. Practically nobody had any mobile phones, so to speak. And yeah, it's sad. And I wish we could back this life that we had in the past, where things were more calm, more sorted, less overloaded, more manageable. We always hear how difficult life was for people, I don't know, 1,000 years ago without all this technology that we have right now. And when you think about it, you might say, yeah, we have it a lot easier today than how it was back in the old days, hundreds of thousands of years ago. How they had to do all this hard labor and were out there at all weathers, hunting, harvesting the crops. But when you really think about it, life back then was a lot simpler actually. They didn't have all this overload of information from all this technology that we have around today. So I'm pretty sure people back then were not as stressed out as we are today. And they probably didn't have to worry all the time how to pay all the bills, because there weren't many bills to pay, if any at all. Maybe they had to pay their landlord, I don't know, yeah. But it was a different world. So if everything gets more complicated, if we are being overloaded with more and more information, then I don't know how we're going to manage all of this. I mean, we can barely handle it the way it is right now. Sometimes I'm thinking if I just should throw away my smartphone. But then I realize we're also dependent on these little things, on all this technology. How it's hard to think it away in our everyday lives. Yeah. It's frustrating when you realize how dependent you are on these little devices. How we are surrounded by it all day, every day. You can hardly have a conversation with somebody without them being distracted by it. It sucks when you remember how it was just, let's say, 15 years ago. For some of you, 15 years might be a long time, but I'm 34 years old right now, and 15 years that's nothing crazy for me. I mean, it's been a while, yes, but I just remember how it was before. And sometimes I wish back these old days, where we didn't have all these distractions. Back then, 15, 20 years ago, if you wanted to communicate with somebody, maybe you would just use something like ICQ. Now, to many of you, it doesn't say anything. I mean, you never heard that term, ICQ or something like that. Basically, it's something like WhatsApp, but on desktop. So on a laptop or on a desktop computer, where you could chat over internet with other people. That was the thing in the early 2000s, and everybody used it, at least in Europe. And yeah, people were chatting over that. They were basically teaming up for joining lobbies and games, or basically organize events, parties, everything, no? And people would communicate over that. And when they would turn off their computer, then that's it. They turned off the computer, If it was something important, people could call them over their mobile phone that everybody had at the time. It was expensive, but if it was something important, then you could do that, no? But there was not this relentless texting where people were just texting for the sake of texting, or watching Netflix on their mobile phones. I mean, didn't exist back then, and it was peaceful. It was. My goal is actually to meditate every day. There was actually a time not too long ago where I actually managed to meditate for about 1 hour every morning, every day. And I was very calm. I wasn't easy to be angered by my two sons or spouse or anyone, really. It was very peaceful, and I felt pretty much in balance. And I'm trying to get that back. I want to meditate daily. Right now, I'm not really doing that every day. So I have to be more consequential with that in organizing my time, that I can get it done. But yeah, it's something I can recommend to everyone, that you try to meditate every day. It doesn't have to be 1 hour or half an hour. For some people, 10 minutes might be enough. For some, maybe 5 minutes. But I think it's something everybody should do. And a good way to really get started would be breathing exercises. There is a channel on YouTube called Breathing with Sandy. Alright? This guy is amazing. He's uploading, I don't know, twice a week or so, a new video, where he's basically out in nature, or sometimes in his home, most of the time out in nature, and basically presenting different breathing exercises. And this is actually not too difficult to do. If you're one of these people that has these racing minds that just never seems to calm down, if you're focused on breathing right, then that distraction is gone. You're focused on that one thing, on this breathing pattern. So I think it's something that is really beginner friendly, that everybody can do. There are breathing exercises from a few minutes to 45 minutes. Personally, I like the longer exercises because they give me deep relaxation that I'm seeking. I'm not getting the same thing from a 5 or 8 minute meditation, no? So yeah, this really helps me, and it's something I can recommend to everyone. Like I said, go through your YouTube subscriptions, check what you really need, what gives you value and what not. Unsubscribe from the stuff that is just wasting your time. Deactivate your notifications so that you watch or listen your videos or your podcasts at the right time, and not just when you get the notification and you immediately get distracted, right? In today's world, we're all kind of dopamine addicted. Many people just seek the next dopamine rush, one way or another. Everything that gives you in one way or another pleasure, it's kind of a dopamine rush. Drinking alcohol, I don't know, sex, pretty much everything that gives you some form of pleasure will release dopamine. And that's what your brain is tailored to do, what it's seeking, if you give it too much of it. If you're not balancing that out, right? You can do a lot of things, but you can do it in limitations. So if you sit on a computer and play video games, for example, for 5-6 hours straight, that's a problem. If you drink a bottle or two of whiskey a week, that's a problem. Yeah, I think you get the picture. Basically, we need to find a balance in our lives. That's something I'm seeking. I'm not there yet. It's a long way to go, no? I mean, I'm still watching too much YouTube. I've sorted it to a degree out, but it's still too much, I would say. I'm still too much distracted from that. And one way I think I can get this under control is actually meditation in the form of breathing exercises. And for people who have never tried that out, this might be a little bit difficult to understand. But once you've tried it once, twice, maybe 3 times, you will understand what I'm talking about. It has pretty much an immediate effect. It's literally changing your brain for the better. Unlike watching Netflix non-stop or getting wasted. Right? So I'm trying to get this podcast a little bit under control here. I think it's getting a little bit too long. Yeah, this is basically my very first podcast. I have to excuse myself, that's a little bit chaotic. Actually, I probably should have made a list. I actually wanted to make a list, but I'm not the type of person that is writing down everything, and I'm just speaking freely in my mind. So yeah, that's how it is for now. I think I will end the podcast here. Here right now it's actually still for 5 minutes more, the 21st of December. In most places it will be the 22nd and soon the 23rd of December. So I guess it's not too early to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, that you have some peaceful days ahead, stress-free, that you can celebrate together with your families, and hopefully not be too distracted by social media, news, all of this, right? Just try to enjoy the time that you have with your family. And I think that's all to say for now. Yeah, you will probably hear back from me soon. Once I got my thoughts together, what specifically I will be talking about. So, see you soon, or hear you soon. Thanks.